Thanksgiving used to be my favorite holiday. I'd spend days baking pies, brining the turkey, ironing the same tablecloth my mother handed down to me the year she passed. That morning, I woke up early, made Madison's favorite pumpkin bread, and even put on the pearl earrings she once said made me look classy. They arrived late. As usual, Peter barely made eye contact as he mumbled, "Hey, Mom." Rena kissed my cheek like it hurt her lips. And Madison? She walked right past me, glued to her phone. The table was set, candles lit. I tried to smile through the small talk and awkward silences. It wasn't the first time they treated me like background noise. But when I brought out the mashed potatoes, I dropped a spoon on the floor. As I bent to pick it up, Madison wrinkled her nose and muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Ugh, Grandma smells like old." There was a beat of silence. Then Peter chuckled under his breath. Rena sipped her wine and didn't say a word. My hand froze on the spoon. I stood up slowly, eyes blinking, heart pounding in a way I hadn't felt in years. I didn't say anything, didn't cry, just served the potatoes and sat down. Inside, though, something cracked. The drive home was a blur of headlights and aching silence. I clutched the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. The streets were empty, but my mind wasn't. She said I smelled old, as if I were something rotten, something expired, something disposable. I thought of the nights I held her when she had the flu, the teddy bear I stitched back together when she was 7, the notebook I gave her when she said she wanted to write stories, just like her mother once dreamed of doing. My daughter would have been heartbroken to see this. Her little girl, cold, cruel, raised in a house with granite countertops and hollow hearts. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat in the dark kitchen, still wearing my pearls. My fingers reached for the red folder in the drawer, the one with Madison's college fund information. It had been building for 16 years, $80,000, all in her name. I stared at it. Then I reached for my phone, not to call Madison, not to beg for an apology. I typed the name of my lawyer instead. The next morning, I didn't bother making coffee. I sat at the kitchen table staring at that red folder like it was a tombstone. Every cent in that fund came from something I gave up. I skipped vacations. I sold my husband's coin collection. I downsized my car. Every time Madison needed braces, books, or ballet shoes, I gave. And not once did I ask for anything in return except respect. Apparently, that was asking too much. I opened the folder slowly, hands steady now. It was all here, bank statements, the deposit slips, the letter I wrote to Madison when I first opened the account. She was 3 then. I told her it was for her future, for her dreams. I never imagined I'd be the one erased from them. A soft knock on the back door startled me. It was Maya, my next-door neighbor and the only person who still checked on me without a reason. "Morning, Clara," she said, stepping in with a paper bag. "Brought cinnamon rolls. Thought you could use something warm." She took one look at my face and sat down across from me. "Was it the holiday again?" I nodded. Her voice softened. "What happened?" I told her everything, from the spoon to the comment, from Peter's silence to the way my heart felt like it had been tossed into the garbage with the pie crust scraps. She didn't gasp. She didn't say kids these days. She said, "Being quiet doesn't make you kind. It just makes them think you don't feel pain." After Maya left, I stared at her words like they were burned into the air. Being quiet doesn't make you kind. I'd spent years thinking endurance was love. That biting my tongue meant I was being a good mother. That suffering in silence made me strong. But silence didn't protect me. It just trained them to think I'd never speak up. That afternoon, I logged into my bank account. I hovered over the Manage Beneficiaries tab for a long moment. Then I clicked. I removed Madison's name. Just like that. The screen blinked and refreshed, and suddenly it was only my name on the account again. My breath caught, not because I felt guilt, but because I didn't. Not even a flicker. I picked up my journal, opened to a blank page, and wrote 3 words. Not hers anymore. As the sun dipped low outside my window, I made tea and sat in the quiet. Not the kind of quiet that hurt. The kind that held me. And for the first time in a long time, I wondered, if I'm not their doormat, who do I get to become? It happened 3 months ago, on a cold afternoon when the rain came down in sheets. I had just left the pharmacy with a bag of my blood pressure meds and a bottle of arthritis cream. My umbrella flipped inside out and my paper bag tore at the bottom. I stood there, soaked and frozen, as orange pill bottles rolled down the sidewalk like marbles. People walked past without stopping, eyes down, collars up. And then she appeared. A young woman, maybe late 20s, wet curls stuck to her cheeks. She crouched down beside me and scooped everything into her coat. "You okay, ma'am?" she asked, breathless. "Let me help you get to your car." I was too stunned to argue. She grabbed the rest of my bag, steadied my elbow, and walked with me across the lot like I was her grandmother. Inside the car, I offered her money. She shook her head. "No way. Just pay it forward, okay?" Then she handed me a little business card, just her first name, Tasha, and a number, in case you ever need help again. She smiled once, kind and genuine, and ran back into the rain. I had tucked that card into my glove box, thinking I'd never use it. But now, holding it in my hand again, I realized I remembered that moment not because of what she did, but how she made me feel. Respected, seen, human. That evening, I stared at my phone for a long time. My thumb hovered over her number. I could still hear Madison's voice in my head. "You smell like a nursing home." I tapped call. It rang once, twice, then hello. Her voice was exactly the same. Warm, curious, cautious. "Hi," I said. "You probably don't remember me. We met during a storm outside Thomlin's pharmacy. You helped an old lady with some runaway pill bottles." A pause. Then, "Wait, Clara." I exhaled, surprised she remembered. "Yes, I still have your card. I'm so glad you called. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but I was wondering, could I take you to tea sometime?" She laughed gently. "Sure, I'd like that." We picked Saturday, noon. I hung up and looked at the college fund folder still sitting on my desk. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something new. Possibility. Tasha arrived 10 minutes early to the tea shop. She wore a simple blue dress and sneakers that had clearly walked too many miles. Her smile was wide, but her eyes were tired. We hugged. It felt natural, like we weren't strangers, but something softer than family and stronger than friends. Maybe kindness had its own kind of bloodline. Over chamomile and cranberry scones, she told me her story. She worked part-time as a medical assistant, studied nursing at night, and raised her son, Malik, on her own. No help from her ex. No safety net. "I've been saving every dime for school," she said. "But something always comes up. Rent, daycare, Malik's inhaler refills." I listened quietly, nodding, folding the napkin in my lap until it looked like a torn ribbon. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "I didn't mean to dump all that on you." "You didn't," I replied. I asked. I paid the bill, and before we stood to leave, I placed a small envelope in her hand. No explanation, just a quiet, "Please open this when you get home." She gave me a puzzled look, but nodded, and I walked back to my car with my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear traffic. That night, the money was gone from the fund, transferred to her. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. "Tasha, Clara, is this real? Did you mean to send this to me? Is it a mistake? Please call me." I smiled and dialed. She answered on the first ring. "I meant every penny," I said. She gasped. "But I can't accept that. That's too much. Why would you do this?" I let the silence linger for just a second. "Because you respected me when you didn't have to. Because you showed up when my own blood turned their backs. And because someone should go to college who knows what hard work really feels like." I heard her crying softly on the other end. I don't even know what to say. "Then don't," I whispered. "Just do what no one else did for me. Use it. Change your life." She sobbed harder. I let her. She kept saying thank you over and over again. But I wasn't doing it for thanks. I was doing it because giving love to the wrong people had nearly hollowed me out. Now it was time to give it where it could grow. The storm came 3 days later. Peter called while I was trimming my rose bushes. I answered without checking the screen. The minute I said hello, His voice shot through like a dagger. Tell me you didn't do what I think you did. I didn't flinch. I probably did. You emptied Madison's college fund. I wiped my hands on my gardening apron. I transferred it, yes. To who? Why? A girl named Tasha. She's going to nursing school. She works 2 jobs and still finds time to help strangers. You remember strangers, don't you, Peter? The kind of people who hold doors and say thank you. He cursed under his breath. You gave away our daughter's future to some random charity case? I let out a slow breath. No, I gave it to someone who sees people, not just dollar signs. I was never part of Madison's future. Don't act shocked now. You're punishing her for one stupid comment. It wasn't the comment, I said. It was the silence after. Yours, Rena's, the years of treating me like some tired appliance in the corner. He went quiet, then hissed. You just ruined your relationship with your family. I looked up at the sky. It's been ruined for a while. I just stopped pretending otherwise. That evening, I got a text from Madison. No greeting. Madison, you are a bitter old woman. I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything. I didn't reply. What could I say to a girl raised on entitlement and silence? Her anger wasn't grief. It was disbelief. Disbelief that the woman who always gave finally took something back. I put the phone down and brewed a cup of mint tea. The wind outside rustled the trees like whispers I no longer feared. The house was quiet, truly quiet. Not the kind that feels lonely, but the kind that feels like peace. I opened the photo album I hadn't touched in years. Inside was a picture of Madison at age 5, smiling in a princess dress I'd sewn by hand. Next to it, a photo of my late daughter, holding baby Madison with tired eyes and love, so deep it looked like pain. I'm sorry, I whispered to the picture. I tried. I really did. I closed the album. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clean. Rena showed up unannounced. I was folding linens when I heard the sharp knock, too quick, too hard. I opened the door and there she stood, sunglasses on despite the cloudy sky, holding her purse like it was a weapon. I thought we should talk face to face, she said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. I stayed by the doorway. Then talk. She turned to face me, pulling off her glasses. Her eyes were hard, rehearsed. You blindsided us, Clara. Do you know how cruel that was? Madison has been crying nonstop. You embarrassed us. I raised an eyebrow. Embarrassed you? For changing my mind about a gift you never thanked me for. You've always made things about you, she snapped. You play the victim every time someone sets boundaries. I felt a flicker of heat in my chest, but I stayed calm. Boundaries? I repeated. That's rich, coming from someone who never let me speak without rolling her eyes. She waved her hand like she was swatting away a gnat. This isn't about me. It's about how selfish you've become. I leaned forward. No, Rena. What's selfish is expecting my money but none of my presents. What's selfish is using the word family like it's a leash. She blinked, thrown off. I'm not bitter, I said, voice steady. I'm just done. And that terrifies you. Rena didn't speak for a long beat. Then she let out a bitter laugh. I always knew you'd pull something like this. You've been holding it over our heads for years. I tilted my head. Funny. I thought I was invisible. Guess I made more impact than I realized. She grabbed her purse. You've turned your back on your own blood. I hope it was worth it. It was, I said softly, because it reminded me I have value, even when no one's clapping. She stormed out without another word. As the door clicked shut behind her, I walked over to the fireplace and picked up the framed photo of me, Peter, and baby Madison. The edges were worn. My smile in the photo looked tired, even back then. I set it face down. Later that day, at church, a few women whispered when I passed. I caught words like cut off her granddaughter and that college fund lady. But then, after service, a young woman I didn't know approached me. She looked nervous, clutching her purse straps. I just wanted to say what you did. It was brave. I wish my grandma had stood up for herself like that. Her voice cracked and she smiled. You're not alone. I nodded, blinking back tears. For the first time in decades, I didn't feel like someone's shadow. I felt like someone's example. Tasha showed up at my door 2 weeks later, with Malik in one hand and an envelope in the other. He was small, maybe 5 or 6, with thick glasses and a gap-toothed grin. "Hi," he said, running in like he'd been here 100 times. "You have cookies?" I laughed. "I think I can find some." While he explored the living room, Tasha handed me the envelope. Inside was a copy of a scholarship confirmation letter. "I used your gift to enroll full-time," she said, her voice trembling. "Then I applied for a community scholarship. When they saw your donation, they approved me immediately." She wiped her eyes. "I've been waiting years for someone to believe I was worth it. You did that." I felt the tears before they reached my cheeks. Not because I was proud, but because I had almost given that gift to someone who never said thank you. Tasha hugged me tightly. "You didn't just change my life," she whispered. "You saved it." I looked over her shoulder and saw Malik pretending to read a photo book upside down. I smiled. "Make me a promise," I said. "Anything. When you graduate, pass it on." She nodded. "I will." And somehow I knew she meant it. That night, I logged on to social media for the first time in months. I didn't go looking, but Madison's post found me. Madison Ellis, my grandmother betrayed our family. I worked so hard and now I have nothing. Some people just don't know how to love right. The comments were divided. Some friends offered sympathy. Others asked questions. But one comment stood out from a girl I didn't recognize. "You called her old," and laughed. "Maybe you should have loved her before she left." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Let her followers debate. Let the truth drip slowly into her pride. If she ever read the letter I left her in my will, she'd understand everything. But not now. Not yet. I put the phone down and looked around my house. It was still quiet. Still small. But suddenly it felt full. Not of things or people, but of meaning. I'd lost my granddaughter's admiration, but I'd found my self-respect. And in Tasha and Malik, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. A future worth believing in. I sat down with pen and paper the old-fashioned way. The letter was for Madison. Not to scold her. Not to guilt her. Just to speak the words I never got to say out loud. "Dear Madison, by the time you read this, I may be gone. Or maybe you'll just be ready to hear me. I didn't give your college fund to punish you. I gave it away because I realized money without respect is just a bribe. You didn't lose that future because I took it. You lost it because you treated me like I was already dead. But I still loved you. I always did. You don't have to forgive me. I only ask that you think about the kind of woman you're becoming. Words last longer than youth, and cruelty leaves fingerprints. I hope you find a way to build a life you're proud of. One that doesn't come from someone else's sacrifice. Love, Grandma." I folded the letter slowly, sealing it in an envelope with her name printed in careful, steady script. I placed it inside the small fireproof box along with my updated will. The house would go to the local community shelter. My jewelry to Maya. What little was left in the savings would be for Tasha and Malik. Madison would find no treasure map here, only a mirror. The garden was in bloom when I stepped outside. I breathed in the scent of lilacs and fresh soil. The breeze was soft against my skin, carrying no weight, no sting. I sat on the old iron bench where I used to sip tea with my daughter when she was still alive. I imagined her beside me now, her laugh, her hands brushing petals from her lap. "I did my best," I whispered, even when no one saw. The wind answered like a lullaby through the trees. Inside, my tea steeped. The kettle still whistled. Life didn't end when people turned away from you. Sometimes it began there. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was free, because I had finally learned the truth. Love, when wasted, turns to rust. But when planted right, it grows into something beautiful. Tasha's nursing degree. Malik's clean lungs and open books. A quiet woman on a quiet street, sipping tea with nothing left to prove. And a family who would never forget the day I chose myself.